Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here in the beautiful state of Virginia making a video here at the Devil's Backbone. It's an overlooking again, Virginia. Beautiful here. It's humid. I love the weather. I love humid weather. It reminds me of the tropics, and compared to California, I love the heat here. Humidity is a great thing. I like wet heat. Again, it makes me feel like I'm in the tropics. But again, you guys can kind of see where I am. Beautiful kind of panorama. It feels good to be out in here in nature. I've got my feet planted to the ground, receiving electrons from the earth. People don't get out enough, and that's an understatement. If you have time on the weekend, if you have time after work to get out and go stand barefoot on the earth, I highly recommend it. It's part of my health protocol. Grounding yourself is so essential for reducing inflammation and again, just getting direct current energy back up into your physiology. Most of us have never really walked barefoot on the ground enough to receive the benefit of doing so. And that's a big problem. We live our lives here in the matrix, disconnected from direct current energy. And we don't, the earth is a giant electron donor, and receiving information from the earth is as simple as walking barefoot on the earth or sleeping grounded. And I'm going to talk about how to fashion a bed setup on the Patreon page for those who are interested, so that you can sleep grounded to the earth, so that you're constantly connected to the earth's electron field, you name it, the energy blanket. Again, the earth is a giant electron donor, a giant electron blanket. But excuse me, just a brief little message here before I get into some other topics. I looked up my area code's water supply pollutants last night on a very credible website, and I was shocked at what I had seen. It really is deplorable just how many chemicals and additives they're putting in the water. I talk about water a lot here on my YouTube channel because water is an essential key to life. 70% or more of your physiology is comprised of water. Water is one of the greatest ways to begin getting healthy, but only if you're consuming the right water. And again, I'm not trying to continually repeat myself, but repetition of a message does indeed constitute mental programming, and we're living in a world where most people are drinking either tap water or filtered water that still contains all of the unhealthy, negative constituents. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke at just how much garbage is floating around in the water supply. People are bathing in this. You bathe in hot water, the heat from the steam opens the pores, these constituents go right into the skin, right into the bloodstream. But I was just shocked at how much garbage they're putting in the water, whether it be runoff or whether it be directly from the water company. So we're not talking about just fluoride, we're talking about disinfectant byproducts, runoff, scaling lime, inorganic compounds, all sorts of stuff. There's a good amount of wind here right now, so hopefully this picks it up. But aside from water, just a brief little tip here. Get yourself a water filter if you don't have the money for a distiller. Outfit your house with a whole house water filter setup. Do something, because even if you're not eating health food, even if your diet's a little questionable right now, chances are you can indeed get yourself a water filter and start drinking more filtered water. I was amazed at the results I had from beginning consuming. When I began consuming distilled water years ago, I was shocked within the first week at how much better I felt, how much healthier I felt. It's a beautiful thing. But again, I didn't want to talk much about water here on this video. I wanted to talk more about veganism. I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that they're putting into the food supply. To start off with the whole vegan rant, I've been getting comments lately, private messages, and things of that nature, emails from people saying that veganism costs way too much money and that I can't afford to be a vegan. I only have this much money per month, this and that. The truth is veganism, if you have a little creativity, if you do a little research, if you actually shop wisely, it's much cheaper than a standard American diet. I hate to tell you. That may be hard to believe when you can get things at gas stations and supermarkets for $1. These prepackaged meals are $2 or $3. A pack of beans, a big ass pound of beans, or a big ass bag, or a 4-pound bag, excuse me, of beans is usually anywhere from $3 to $7, depending on whether you buy organic or not. 4 pounds of beans can go a really long way. You mix that with rice, you have a complete protein, you have a large spectrum of amino acids, you have yourself a pretty legit meal there. That can last me a long time. I can get by on less than $100 a month if I wanted to as a vegan. I call that survival mode. It's actually kind of a fun thing to do, to experiment with budgeting your intake and seeing just how little you have to spend to be healthy. The thing about veganism and raw foods and things of that nature in general is it may sound contradictory because I'm constantly speaking out against genetically modified foods and whatnot, but even if you consume non-organic fruits and vegetables and you make that the bulk of your diet, in my opinion, you're still going to receive a large amount of health benefits from that, because compared to the processed garbage, even the genetically modified foods are healthier than that, as contradictory as that may sound. But there were times where I couldn't afford completely organic food, and I still thrived. But compared to the organic food, I mean, it's night and day. Organic food has more minerals in it, it's grown in healthier soils. Even though the organic movement to a large extent is corrupt, it is better food than non-organic food. There's more color, there's more pigments, there's more vitamins, there's more nutrition, because the soils that they're grown in are significantly healthier, even though the soils are still heavily deficient. Heavily deficient, ladies and gentlemen. The government was saying in the 50s and the 60s that the soils were practically depleted. So a plant, anything you grow in the ground, is only as healthy as the soil that you grow it in. And the soils are depleted. We never give the soil the proper amount of time to regenerate its microbes, fulvic acid, humic acids, and different sacred constituents before we start regrowing crops over and over and over. It's just a continual loop of abusing this earth. We use over 50% of the United States land to raise animals for consumption. Did you know that we could feed the world, all the hungry people in the world, if we stopped feeding these cows all the genetically modified corn, soybeans, the grains, you name it, and we used the grains and the things that we grow for our livestock, for the hungry people on earth? It's a joke. We waste so much water growing food for cows, for livestock, and then to raise food, we waste so much water to grow food for animal livestock, and then we give it to the animals. It's just very unsustainable, ladies and gentlemen, is what I'm getting at. There's a lot of wind right now, so I'm going to hopefully not pick that up, but what a joke. Animal agriculture is not only animal abuse, it's speciesism, and it's also the leading cause of environmental pollution, whether you want to believe it or not. Whether you want to believe it or not. Raising animals for food, the way that we do it here in the Matrix, causes more pollution than all forms of transportation combined. We're talking airplanes, boats, cars, motorcycles, you name it. So we have all these people fretting over environmental issues, but most of them don't address or even acknowledge the fact that the 500-pound or the 2,000-pound elephant in the room is the giant the giant sore thumb is raising animals for human consumption. It's the leading cause of environmental pollution. It's the leading cause of Amazon forest degradation. 91% of Amazon destruction is from raising animals for food. 1/3 of the world's water is used on animals, raising animals for food. So it's the leading cause of ocean dead zones, and it's the leading cause of species extinction. So we have all these environmental agencies telling people to cut back on, get their little water saver shower heads and to recycle more and this and that, when that only is the tiniest iota of the problem. When the main problem is animal consumption, ladies and gentlemen. It can take upwards of 660 gallons, I believe, to produce one hamburger, and it can take up to 2,500 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. And I believe it's about 477 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of cheese. So a diet rich in dairy, a diet rich in animal products is highly unsustainable, and it's really doing nothing for your health, and it sure as hell isn't doing anything for the ecosystem. So, in my opinion, based on my own research, and I've done quite a bit of it, I've looked at the statistics, the one way that we could fix things here on Earth in relation to the environment and the pollution, the one way that we can fix things most rapidly, most efficiently, most cost effectively, you name it, is for the entire population to go vegan. Many people aren't going to be okay with that because many people use their taste buds and their cultural programming to dictate how they want to live their lives. They've made it up in their heads that they always want to be a meat eater, that they always want to consume dairy. Most people are unwilling and get highly defensive when it comes to questioning their dietary patterns and their dietary morals and their ethics. So we have large groups of people, I'd say 90 to 95%. Beautiful black butterfly just flew by. I'd say 90 to 95% of the people here in the United States will continue to consume their standard American diets, regardless of the fact that all the information is out there about how it's not only unhealthy and killing them, but it's killing the ecosystem, it's killing the rainforest. The rainforest is the forests here on Earth are the world's lungs, and we're destroying them. I believe it's every 5 to 10 seconds an acre of land in the rainforest, you name it, is decimated, so that we can clear land to not only raise animals, but to also farm crops, genetically modified corn, soybeans, grains, you name it, so that we can feed these animals. So palm oil is a big problem. I think being a vegan and consuming palm oil products is a huge contradiction. I think people should look more up about palm oil. It's a huge leading cause in monkeys being killed and the forests. But compared to animal agriculture, we have on one side we have palm oil, tiny little iota of deforestation, and then we have livestock, raising animals, you name it. It's huge. I believe it's 136 billion pounds of food are consumed every day by the livestock here in hell, planet hell. So there's a lot of wind right now, you guys. I'm going to go down here into this valley. Hopefully that'll clear it up a little bit, but again, walking barefoot on the earth. I've only been doing this now for close to 13 minutes and I already feel better. Every time I get stressed, every time I don't feel good, every time I may feel like I'm about to have like an anxiety attack or you name it, if I walk barefoot on the earth or even plant my feet into sand or the dirt, it makes me feel much better. Excuse me. But check out Clinton Ober's book, Earthing. Clinton Ober wrote that book with the help of 2 other people, I believe. That's a profound document if you want to learn the positive effects of just walking barefoot on the earth. Something so simple. We've been disconnected from simplicity, and we live in this confusing kind of medically indoctrinated pharmaceutical matrix, this weird world where the food really isn't food anymore, ladies and gentlemen, because by default, food is something that nourishes, and the things that we're consuming are far from nourishing. So the definition of food to me is something that gives nourishment. And how can you call 90% of the foods on the market food when they're not? They're foodstuffs, they're byproducts, they're industrial waste products that are packaged. I'm not even going to get into it. But a lot of the foods on the market contain industrial waste products, contain chemicals. What are we doing to ourselves? When are we going to learn how to have common sense again? Common sense is not common. I love that adage. Common sense is no longer common. So, I don't know. To me, it's just contradictory when people are okay with eating animals when they wouldn't want to do it with their own hands. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then there's always the argument of, you know, we have canines, we're designed to eat meat, our ancestors ate meat, you name it. That doesn't mean that our ancestors couldn't have, if they had the knowledge, eaten the leaves, eaten the fruits. they had access to it. Now, I'm not saying they all had access to it, but I mean, come on. Just because our primitive ancestors ate meat doesn't mean that we have to. Every vegan I know is radiantly healthy. I've never met one vegan personally. I'm not saying that there aren't sick vegans out there, because I mean, you can be a vegan and eat all the wrong foods, but every vegan that I know personally is radiant, is mentally sharp. I've looked at a lot of their blood work. Their protein levels are fine. They're doing good. So that's one common thing that I hear from people all the time is, as a vegan, where do you get your protein? I get my protein from beans. I get my protein from a Aphanosomum flossaqua blue-green algae. I get my protein from rice. I get my protein from spirulina, algae, bioactive proteins. The protein in AFA blue-green algae from Klamath Lake, Oregon, the mineral matrix and the nutritional profile is so similar to the human bodies that it rapidly uptakes. It's called bioavailability. How are you going to derive protein from animal meat when it was fed genetically modified corn and soybeans? It was given wastewater to drink, antibiotics, hormones, and vaccines. So that's not quality protein. That's called shit, and you're eating shit, literally. 90% of the factory farmed meats that have been tested contain fecal contamination. On top of that, people are eating excessive amounts of bisphenol-A. Bisphenol-A is a sex hormone. It's sprayed in practically every single can in the supermarket. It's a sex hormone, responsible and linked to multiple types of cancers, breast cancer. There was a study done, I can't remember the doctor who did it, or it was a scientist, took cancer cells and put bisphenol-A into the cancer cells, and the cancer cells multiplied like throwing lighter fluid on a fire. So many of the foods on the market contain all sorts of just backwards things, chemicals, additives that shouldn't be there in the first place. It makes you wonder what's really going on here. Are we being poisoned? It sure seems like it when 95% or more of the foods on the supermarkets are laced with things that, if you look up, are related to heart disease, colon cancer, mental pathologies, acceleration of premature aging, senility, Alzheimer's. So we're eating foods out of cans often. I'm not saying that I don't. From time to time, I will resort to convenience and eat some processed foods and some canned foods. But there's a beautiful couple of bugs right here. The iridescent shells, it reminds me of titanium or a quartz. But again, ladies and gentlemen, all the arsenic in rice, all of the different levels of, I mean, speaking of bisphenol-A, that bisphenol-A can be found in toilet paper, paper products, money. It's not just in your foods. Toilet paper, when you wipe your rear end with toilet paper with bisphenol-A on it, it goes right into your system. When you handle money all the time, you name it. I'm not saying that handling things with BPA in it, also known as bisphenol-A, is going to absorb into your system as rapidly as eating foods, but it does add up over time, ladies and gentlemen. That same researcher, can't remember his name, I wish I had it on hand, who did the studies on the effects of BPA on health, said that every person that he'd ever tested had traceable levels of bisphenol-A in their urine. So if you think you're healthy, if you think everything's honky-dory, if you think that you're above all this, if you think that just because you believe that you're above, believing in statistics that you're healthy and that you're invincible, you're fooling yourself. I don't care how healthy you think you are, there is always something around the corner that is threatening our health here in this system. So we have corporations and organizations and committees of people who really don't give a shit about you or me or our health or the food that we eat or the animals. They care about profit. They've placed profit above morals and values. And that's why this world, to a large extent, is highly evil. The black hand of greed and evil has taken over the food supply, the medical system, the education systems, you name it. And what do you think? This is just some joke? You can live in a bubble your entire life. You can ignore truths, or you can just be one of these people who falls for the appeal to popularity fallacies. You can appeal to popularity and think that just because everyone else thinks it's okay, that you're okay. Everyone else does it. You only live once. Live fast, die young. I know so many people who will just fight, kick, and scream to defend the diets and the lifestyles that are killing them. And people like that you really can't help. So again, you guys, I'm just out here in Virginia, feeling good. It does indeed feel tropical. I'm surprised I have this jacket on right now. Got some moonstone on. I love moonstone. But yeah, just getting around. It's even good for the eyes to be out here and let all the optic stimulation, let your optic nerve and your entire occipital regions be stimulated by all the green colors. Green is a very magical color. So due to the fact that I like to be as close to Earth as possible and as natural as possible, not only do I like to eat natural foods, but I like to be around nature. I like to be around the bugs and the reptiles and the birds. I like to walk barefoot on the earth because I'm aware, I'm privy, I've done the research on what the health benefits of walking barefoot are. Not only is it good for the meridian system and receiving electrons, but it's also good for balancing out the natural posture of the human body when a human is standing erect. When you have shoes on, there's a cushion, your bones don't, the gravity doesn't compress the bones properly, and you develop problems in the knees. There's so many issues that can be related to shoes alone. I probably sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist. I probably sound like someone who thinks that there's a negative to everything that appears positive, but I'm not the type of person who's going to deny objective reasoning and deny looking at the truth. I don't care how difficult it is to look at the truth. I don't care how much it rattles my little belief systems and my comfort bubble. I want to know the truth, because at the end of the day, I think yearning to know what's really going on is one of the most powerful and righteous virtues that a human being can strive for. Knowing what's going on, especially in the food supply, how the animals are being treated. Have you ever watched Earthlings? Have you ever looked into what goes on behind closed doors in factory farms? Chances are, if you're still eating meat, you haven't done so. What are you waiting for? I know so many people who have waited so long to watch these documentaries on animal agriculture and animal abuse in the food supply. And when I ask them why they don't do it, I can't handle that. I don't need to know. I don't need to know. The fact that you're saying that means that you know something's wrong, and due to the fact that you're unwilling to watch it because you know it's going to be horrific means that you're living a lie. You're living a contradiction, because if you knew what was really going on in the food supply or with these animals, you'd stop eating it. We have bought into a protein myth, and we have bought into a nutritional paradigm that is nothing more than a mind control eugenics system to dumb down the population and to significantly alter the course of genetics from evolving. The foods we're consuming are damaging DNA, the telomeres, damaging livers, our endocrine system, the thyroids, we're blown out. We've had our systems completely altered, and we've participated in it. We actually spend our hard-earned money on it. So Earth is kind of like a recreational pig pen at this point, where everyone just wants to stimulate, fun, never do any real research and just pretend that everything's okay, even though we are headed down a path of significant destruction. With the methane produced by the cows, the cattle here in these farms, in the next 20 years, if we don't stop, things are not going to be looking good. They don't look good already. And if you think things are going to get better, you're lying to yourself. In 1976, the U.S. Public Health Department said that only 1.5% of all Americans were actually healthy. Again, in 1976, the U.S. Public Health Department said that only 1.5% of all Americans were actually healthy. I'm going to repeat that one more time. In 1976, the U.S. Public Health Department said that only 1.5% of all Americans were actually healthy. Spinach content in the 70s had significantly higher amounts of iron in it. Now we're looking at less than 1 milligram per bowl. It dropped over, I believe, 90% since the 70s. And that's one mineral of many. That's not the only mineral that is receiving these deficiencies. Food is not food anymore. This is why I focus largely on clean water, foods that are still mineral rich, things like cacao, Aphanosoma philosophical blue-green algae. I talk more about this on the Patreon page, www.patreon.com/sacredserpent. For $5 a month, you can become a Supreme Access member and gain 2 to 6 hours of bonus video content that you won't find here on the public YouTube channel. You can ask me questions. I do video posts, picture posts, food recommendations. The month of August is going to be dedicated to strictly recipes. I'm aiming for more than 20 recipe videos. Videos on how I make my salads, my green elixirs, the amino acid elixir, all the different blue-green algae, prism water teas, the hibiscus teas, how to capsule herbs, how to blend herbs, all sorts of neat stuff. How to mineralize your foods after you've cooked them, because again, even if you get an organic sweet potato, it's lacking significant amounts of minerals, vitamins, nutrition, pigments. There are, however, ways to mitigate this. There are, however, ways to navigate the mineral depletion. But just jumping onto a subject here really quick about the whole protein thing, just randomly. I don't think I went into the whole protein thing enough. I know people who, I know vegans who don't consume half as much protein that we're told we need, and when they get blood tests done, when they get work done, they're well within the safe region for protein. We consume too much protein here in the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to tell you, protein is not all you need. Anytime you talk to a typical Westerner about nutrition, it always goes back to protein. They never talk about minerals, molybdenum, they never talk about things like zinc, copper, calcium, real calcium, magnesium. We're magnesium deficient here in the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. Over 90% of the population is magnesium deficient. Magnesium is responsible and acts as a catalyst for over 500 different reactions within the body, related to heart health, lung health, you name it. Magnesium really isn't in the food anymore, and magnesium supplements, there's so many different forms of magnesium. Are you getting the right one? I'm not saying I'm right all the time. Fly on my finger. But I have uncovered some things that have greatly helped me and have greatly helped other people along the path. And due to that, I want to share. I receive comments from people every day, almost, talking about how the information that I talk about, they've applied it and it's helped them. That makes me feel really good. I feel it's my duty, after having gone down this strange path with diet and this strange path of healing. I had a lot of issues when I was younger. I weighed close to 300 pounds. I was fatigued all the time. Never had any energy. Felt like shit. Depressed. So I've been down this weird journey where I've had to experiment with all sorts of different diets, and I've found the one that works. And I know it works based on how it makes me feel in contrast, in comparison to how I used to feel. So what do you have to lose by sitting down with yourself and telling yourself that I want to get healthier? What do you have to lose? So a longer life, more range of motion, feeling better, feeling happier, cleaner, feeling morally grounded. That's the beautiful thing about veganism. It's not just physical. It's not just related to health. You feel good morally because what you're doing is significantly lowering the suffering, the degree of suffering here on this planet. As a vegan, depending on how you eat, you can save up to 1 to 2 animals a day. As a vegan, you save significant amounts of CO2 and you save large amounts of water and suffering. That's really what I'm worried about. I don't want to cause suffering to an innocent sentient creature when I wouldn't do it with my own hands. People paying other people to slaughter animals, it's just beyond cowardly, especially when you can see how they're treated. But what do I know? I'm just the guy on YouTube who tries to teach people that the water supply is spiked with poisons, chemicals, the food supply has been heavily tampered with, they're spraying sex hormones into the foods, into the cans. Even the cookware that we use is sprayed with shit, or is laced with shit. So I know how good I feel I know how good I felt when I got away from a large majority of this shit. So I'm going to keep it up. This is my life's journey, health. Nothing more interesting in my opinion, but I'm going to wrap this one up on behalf of the Sacred Starseed Serpent Uraeus YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that my videos, my channel, my messages, and my passion can help inspire you to do something positive today for your health. I hope the wind isn't too loud right now. It could be as simple as you watching a documentary. Watch Cowspiracy, watch Earthlings, watch What the Health. Go on YouTube and type in vegan documentaries. Watch Vegucated. Read the book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. The answers are out there, the information's out there. but most people don't want to look because they don't care at the end of the day. Or maybe they do care, but they don't know how to look. So hopefully my channel, if you've watched it this far, can help inspire you to do something positive today for your health. Peace be with you all.
Are you guys interested in the Sacred Serpent YouTube channel? Do you want more bonus content that you will never find here publicly? If so, go over to www.patreon.com/Sacred Serpent and check out my Patreon page. For $5 a month, you get anywhere from 2 to 6 hours or more of bonus video content that you will never find here on the public YouTube channel. You will also gain access to a community section where you can ask me questions and receive prompt replies. You can talk amongst other patrons. And I'm also doing a lot of posting in regards to what I'm eating. I'm posting recipes, exercises, all sorts of stuff. So it's a really fun outlet. And again, if you guys are interested in my channel and you do indeed want more content, donkey, go over again to www.patreon.com/Sacred Serpent. Peace be with you.